Hello, this is a video about Charlton Romance Comics in general, and shown here is my collection specifically. And I centered my collection on the 16 titles that were running about 1970, which were Career Girl Romance, For Lovers Only, Haunted Love, Hollywood Romance, I Love You, Just Married, Love and Romance, Love Diary, My Only Love, Romantic Story, Secrets of Young Brides, Secret Romance, Sweethearts, Teenage Love, Teen Confessions, and Time for Love. Now, these 16 titles are the core of my collection because they lasted from before 1970 to the end, about whenever each title ended, up until some of them ran until about 1980. But of these 16 titles, there was a little more than 1,000 comic books, of which I've collected about 420, counting some duplicates. Career Girl Romances is one of my favorites. It was previously had a number of titles to it. Started out as High School Confidential Diary up until number 11. Then it became Confidential Diary from 12 to 17. Then Teen Nurses 18 to 23. And finally Career Girl Romances in 1964 and ran until 1973. For Lovers Only was an interesting title. It started out as Brides in Love, then it became Hollywood Romances, and then finally For Lovers Only, and that was a fairly long-running title. I started collecting because of I just happened to get a comic book, a lot of comics that had. I had a few Charlton Romances in my collection, but they didn't really appeal to me that much until I got this lot with a issue of Love Diary with a Philip Jose Garcia Lopez cover, and I thought, wow, I know this artist, and I always kind of liked him, and I realized that there were some good artists working in Charlton Comics. In the pre-1970 issues, the good artists were kind of few and far between. There was Ernesto Garcia, Luis Avila, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, and then a little later, A. Martinez. But the artist that really got me interested is this artist here, Enrique Nieto, who did this cover, the red cover. I came across an issue, I think it was Love and Romance number 21, and it just had this fantastic story. And I thought, wow, this artist is great. He's in this issue too, as a matter of fact. It's got a great story. But yeah, Enrique Nieto was what really sort of clicked me into high gear on collecting. I wanted to collect everything by Nieto. He had stories across the board and most of the titles. He started working about 1972 through 1974 or 75 on romance, and he worked a little later on horror comics. Great Tom Sutton cover there. I'm sorry, this video is a little bit disjointed. I had a few things to say, and I think I've said most of them already. So here's a Tom Sutton cover. The rest of this is kind of a off-the-cuff narration. Hollywood Romance was the title I was discussing earlier. It was previously Brides in Love, and eventually became For Lovers Only, which we've already seen. These Hollywood romances are fun. There's a lot of Nicholas and Alicea stories, but there's a few. I think A. Martinez and some other good artists in this title. I think this is the last issue of Hollywood Romances. Next we have I Love You, which is one of the really long running titles. It started, I think, in 1960 or 61, something like that. Just have a few of the early issues, which, as I said, this is a Jim Aparo cover, and my phone keeps going off there. I Love You. It's a good title. I think that's the Garcia Lopez cover there. And that's Nestor Oliveira, another obscure artist. I got so interested, I collected all of Enrique Nieto's stories, and I published a little book called Creepy Cool that published all of his books, and that put me in touch with Mr. Nieto, who is still alive and happily still creating artwork. Among the other artists that interested me in Charlton Romance, or let's see, I've got a list here in this book. There's Angel Luna, Domingo Mandrafina, Ennio Leguizamon, I can't pronounce some of these names, Francisco Pujalte, Gustavo Trigo, Gutenberg Monterio, Hugo Di Benedetto, Hugo Tomalin, Jorge Bedia Romero, and Jesus Balbi. Those were the artists in a book I published called 10 Obscure Romance Comic Book Artists Volume 1. And in Volume 2, there was art by Comerio, Jose Delbo, Leandro Cesaregio, Leo Dorona, Lucho Oliveira, Nestor Oliveira, Oscar Stepanovich, Oswald, Ruben Sosa, and Tori Rapizzo. And those 10 artists were in a book, examples of their work were published in a book I did called 10 Obscure Romance Comic Book Artists Volume 2. This is a great cover by Enrique Nieto. I Love You. So good I had to buy two. One of my favorite covers. And this is a great Tom Sutton cover here. I published altogether 4, 6, 8, 9 Charlton, 8 Charlton Romance and 1 Charlton Horror by Enrico Nieto from a kind of a print-on-demand outfit. they do a beautiful job with the books, but they're just prohibitively expensive. I mean, even for me to print them, it's too much. So they're available, and if you're interested, hit me up in the comments, and I can give you information on how to get them. But I don't know, they're really very expensive. They're like $80 each for a 300-page book, which I don't know, maybe that's not so expensive, but it seems expensive, and so I haven't been really pushing them. After I Love You, there was Just Married, and that was another long-running title. Some of the early issues are kind of ho-hum, but then here there's a Garcia Lopez story in this one, and uh, Nestor Oliveira in this one is the cover. That's a Luis Avila cover, who I like very much. Yes, I'm not so sure. That's a Nestor Oliveira. I like the Just Married comics because they could be a little more risque because the principals were married, so they could be more intimate. Sometimes even in the same bed. The thing on TV about having twin beds didn't carry over to the comics code. Like I say, Just Married was a pretty long-running title. You can see that in the upper left these red Charlton boxes, corner boxes. Those were around from about 68 to 73, more or less. And by about 70 or 71, they started having issue numbers on the outside. Previously, you had to look inside. This is Art Capello. Capello, he's a pretty good artist. He did a lot of covers and a lot of stories too. This is A. Martinez. This is the beginning of uh, a serial about David and Elaine. David was Jewish and Eileen is Irish, and everyone said that their marriage wouldn't work out. This is about a 9-part series about their lives and how things went, their travails of marriage, of a mixed marriage, which is kind of interesting. This was in about 72, 73, right about that time. That's a Louise Avila cover. That's now we're into Love and Romance. This was a more short run series. It ran about 25 issues, I think. This was the title. Like again, I found number 21 with the great Enrique Nieto story. This is Martin Odell. No, Martin Odell. I forget the artist on that one. I always liked that cover. But coming up is my favorite Enrique Nieto story. This cover on number 20, and since I was in touch with Mr. Nieto, I contacted him and asked him if he would do a commission for me to do a recreation of one of his covers, and he agreed to do it. So I sent him this comic coming up here with the yellow cover, Love and Romance number 20. This is like 19, I think. It's coming up. That's body. That's okay. Here we go. Enrique Nieto, and so this is the commission that he did for me. I really love it. He did a great job. and it was a fairly reasonable price he charged me. If any of you are interested, I think he's open to commissions to recreate his covers. And if you might think you might be interested in commissioning him, hit me up in the comments and I can put you in touch with him. That Love and Romance, that previous one, that was the one that really kicked me into high gear on collecting Nietos. That's a Frank Boyle cover, I think. My Only Love. This was one of the first series I completed. That was number one. Oh, that was Out of Place. There's Love Diary. Love Diary was another long-running series. And again, these early issues are just kind of so-so. Every once in a while, you'd get a Ernesto Garcia cover or story, or maybe a Luis Avila, but mostly it was like a lot of Vince Coletta. Maybe if you're lucky, a Dick Giordano. That's a Luis Avila. The previous one was Ernesto Garcia. And this is the famous Jose Luis Garcia Lopez cover that got me started to be interested in collecting Charlton Romance. I think this is Lucho Oliveira. I think that's Jim Aparo. There are a lot of interesting artists that worked for Charlton, especially in the romance comics and also in the horror. I confess that I started collecting the Love comics because they were inexpensive and I could buy them in lots. And, like I say, there's like 1,000 different ones. So, when I was starting out, it was fairly easy to buy big lots where I didn't have any of them. Then eventually I bought this one big lot of about 80 from a seller up in Canada. It cost me an arm and a leg, but man, they were high grade, really nice books, and I was like, wow, this is great. I got an instant collection. By that time, I had like 150 or so, and I was like, yeah, this is really cool. I had a lot, but not so many that I still couldn't buy lots. I'd buy a lot of 15 or 20, and I'd only have a couple of them already. So eventually I, would trade away or give away or sell the duplicates to friends. That's a Gustavo Trigo there. I always liked that cover. So I started doing videos about the Charlton Romance comics, and if you look back through my videos, you see I do a lot about them because that's mostly what I buy. And I feel like this is Demetrio Sanchez Gomez's first comic cover there on Love Diary. I think that's Ruben Sosa there. But I feel like some of the videos I did kind of sparked some interest in collecting the Charlton Romance comics, because I noticed after I did several videos that they started bidding up higher on eBay. I had previously been able to get them for $2 or $3 an issue, and now they go higher, like $5 or $6 sometimes. I'll usually bid up to about $3 or $4 an issue, but I rarely win them anymore. That's Enrique Nieto's cover there. That's a Tom Sutton. Great cover there. Tom Sutton is another favorite artist of mine, and his horror books are starting to take off. Some of them have climbed up to really high prices, and I wonder why. Here's another Tom Sutton cover. I mean, they're good. His covers are really good, But yeah, you've got a series of comics that would run like an average of $10 in a VG fine condition, and all of a sudden these issues jump up to $200 or $300 on a couple of his books. This is the hardest one to get in my only love for me. That was number 3. It's got an Alex Toth story in it. The only Alex Toth story he did, romance story that he did for Charlton. And as I said, my only love is this short. I think it's a 9-issue title. It's the first title that I completed. I think I think there was another short title that I completed. Can't really bring it to mind right away. A lot of Art Capello art. As you can see, I've got a few duplicates in here. So My Secret Life was just one of those one-offs. It's not really a story that I'm not really count in my census of 16 titles. Romantic Stories was a pretty long-running one. I think that's Lucio Oliveira there. It's a Dick Giordano, I'm pretty sure. Again, you can see where they have the banner there. Those were before, and then when you get to 68 or 69, you've got just the red corner box. That's Ernesto Garcia. That's Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. I love that girl screaming. It's a great image. It's another Garcia Lopez. And that's Luis Avila. Not sure about this one. It's a cool cover, though. This, I'd say, is Charles Nicholas, that last one. I think that's Luis Avila, maybe. That's Pete Morrissey, that girl dancing with abandon. It's a cool Mario. He's Argentinian. Hope you're enjoying these covers. My narration is not exactly stimulating, I'm sure. We're halfway through this very long video, and I'm hoping that this narration is working out. I'm looking at this, and I changed the speed. Well, I hope it works out. That's Gustavo Trigo there. And these early Volume 1 Secrets of Young Brides are not all that interesting. The second series is more interesting. It's got some Enrico Nieto stories in them and some Tom Sutton covers. Not this one. But again, the young brides can have more intimate stories because they're married. I suppose that's the appeal. This is a Tom Sutton cover here. It's a great one. This I'm not sure. It might be Tom Sutton. I didn't look it up. It's a cool cover. This one has a big tape pull on it. I need another issue of that for my collection, but that's a placeholder. I think that's a Tom Sutton cover. Not sure about this one. And I've got a lot of kissing covers. It's Romantic Secrets. That's a Charles Nicholas was his title. He did several, about the first 10 issues. He did the covers. Charles Nicholas, when he inked himself, was really a good artist. It's just that most of the interior stories, I'd say 3 out of the 4 of the interior stories that he did were inked by Vince Alisea, who was just, I guess, adequate inker. His stuff just does not pop like the stuff that like this cover that Nicholas inked himself. I don't like to put down Vince Alisea, although I have many times. He's just not an inker that I prefer. Put it that way. Hope you're enjoying these comics in my collection. I should have taken them out of the bags, but that would have been a Herculean task. Maybe I'll attempt that when I get to 500 or 600. Yeah, right. I'm working on a book. I've been collecting uh, file, file images of Charlton covers, as many as I could harvest from eBay or here or there, if I can find a high res image. This is a Demetrio Sanchez Gomez cover. I think I've got a couple more copies coming up. That was out of order, but yeah, I forget what I was saying. Oh yeah, I'm collecting the images. I'd like to put out a book of all the covers of Charlton Romance comics. Like I say, it'd be about 1,000. Here's that cover again, Demetrio Sanchez Gomez. I guess I've got 3 copies of it. It's one of the greatest of all time covers from Charlton Romance. And so it'd be about a 330-page book. I figured showing 1,000 covers. I don't know whether I'll ever complete it or not. I think that's one that I could publish without fear of copyright strikes. But I think there's a Nieto story in that. That's Badia Romero. I think that might be Garcia Lopez. I've seen that car. And that's Tom Sutton. I like that cover. The girl sitting there watching football. Reminds me of Emma Vigeland. Let's see. That's a Art Capello. I think maybe that's Frank Boyle. Maybe. Yeah, that one too. He did a lot at this era. I think that's Charles Nicholas. Some of the artists at Charlton, this is what I've heard, they tried to start a union, and Charles Nicholas told the boss, Wildman or whoever it was, and they broke the union, and subsequently Charles Nicholas got most of the work for the rest of the, from 70, I don't know, 75 up. You see, the books have mostly Charles Nicholas work. I don't know if that story is completely true or not, but I've heard about it from several different sources. Sweethearts, it's Garcia Lopez. No, never mind. Uh, yeah, it's a long-running story. That's a Luis Avila cover there. Some good stories in Sweethearts. That was a pretty good series. A lot of good artists worked on that. There's Art Capello cover. That's an Art Capello. I think that's Luis Avila. And of course, most of many of the covers came from interior panels or splash pages. Like I think these last two were splash pages that they transferred into covers. This is kind of cool. I got this comic that was written all over. If you can make it out there, you can see that there's a lot of ink work. Somebody, I guess, was talking on the phone or something and inking over the book. Oh, that kind of appeals to me for some reason, perverse reason. I think that's uh, Owsley. That's Luis Avila. This is, I'm not sure. As this narration goes on, I'm getting kind of worn out. I think there's still several minutes left in this video, but I haven't mentioned it. If you like this video, like it. I should have mentioned that way a long time ago because I'm sure most people have already dropped out. But if you're still hanging around there, be sure and hit the like button. Teenage Love, that's another good series. That's a Luis Avila cover there. And if you have any comments, this is Tony Tallarico. I've always had a lot of affection for Tony Tallarico, although for years I considered him like the worst of all comic artists in all the companies. He was like the weakest. I came to that conclusion when I was like 12 or 13. So I've known about him for a long time, and I have some affection for his work. These Johnny Love stories were mostly by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez in Teenage Love. That's a Lopez cover there. Johnny Love, he's always on the move, always running into girls who are in love with somebody else, and he jumps in and solves their romantic problems. It's kind of a good series. He's one of the few repeat characters that ran through the books. He also was in Teen Confidential too occasionally. Teen Confessions, that's Ernesto Garcia. This Teen Confessions is early work by Mike Kaluta. Got 2 copies of that one. And is this, I want to say it's Garcia Lopez, but I'm not sure. This one's definitely Garcia Lopez. See, there's a signature, a thumb on it. It's maybe Comerio. It's another Garcia Lopez. I always buy extras of those if I can. All those I finally probably just came in groups. Avila, it's a great Avila cover. It's kind of a fun cover there. Composite of interior images. Yeah, this is coming to the end. Teen Confessions. These are the later issues of Teen Confessions. Kind of a goofy cover there. Hippie's not too effective looking, I don't think. There's Luis Avila. About a girl who's too young, but the boys don't think so. Another kissing cover. That's a thing people collect. Kissing covers. There's another one. There's another one. Johnny Love. He's not really kissing her because he's like a love him and leave him kind of guy. That's kind of a cool cover. It's a Don Newton cover there, painted cover. There's another one that I can't, it's very elusive. It's like a motorcycle gang by Don Newton, and I can't ever get my hands on that one. But hopefully in the future. This is Frank Boyle. This one too, maybe. That's Tom Sutton. Teen Secret Diary. That's another one of the oddball issues that I don't really collect. Time for Love is the last major run. So this video is soon coming to an end. For those of you who hung out this long, I hope you got something out of it. I had my car was in the shop for a couple days, and I had a couple days where I'm stuck at home with nothing to do, so I decided to make this video. Good art on these covers. I think that's Jim Aparo. This is Hugo de Bernadetto, and it's kind of like a misprint. You can see like her hat is kind of like, it's like the colors haven't faded. It's just more of a misprint. That was a blind guy with a nurse. That was a common theme on Charlton Romance covers. There's another Art Capello kissing cover. I forget this guy's name. Sal Gentile. He did a lot of covers. I think that's a Garcia Lopez. This is the first of the bullseyes there, 73. I haven't mentioned that yet. It went from the red corner box to the bullseye. And where they say all new, that's what you want to look for. You want to look for the bullseye and the all new, because those have some of the best stories. That's a tip from me to you. For those of you, this is one of the great covers here by Demetrio Sanchez Gomez. Look at that. And that's an Art Capello. It's kind of a great cover. He's trying to kiss her. She's kind of turning away. So we're coming down to the wire here. And if you like this video, like it. There's a Tom Sutton. 2 copies of that one. I think this is the last issue. Badio Romero cover. Jorge Badio Romero. And then I got a couple of Bobby Shermans that I got from my pal Roger Metarog. So if you like this video, like it. And thanks for watching.